Promises to make housing more affordable are coming from all the main party leaders in this election.
We will build our way out of the housing crisis.
A great life in a beautiful home on a safe street.
We want to build homes that you can actually afford.
How would the federal leaders' promises actually affect the cost of housing right here in the GTA? Let's dig in. Both Liberal leader Mark Carney and Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre are talking about eliminating the GST on some new home purchases, but their promises are not identical.
Taking GST, the federal sales tax, off of all homes under $1.3 million.
We'll eliminate the GST for first-time home buyers on all new and substantially renovated homes under $1 million.
So the Conservative plan would scrap the 5% GST for anyone buying a newly built home under $1.3 million. The Liberal plan scraps the GST just for first-time buyers on new homes under $1 million.
How do we make it more affordable for the next generation to own? I mean, arguably, I tend to think a policy that gives a tax benefit to first-time buyers, younger families, rather than people who are using homes as investment is a way to get down that road, right?
How much of an impact would cutting the GST on new homes actually have on affordability?
It's a good 10-second political soundbite. The reality is, it's not going to have that big an effect. It will help to stimulate some builders to go ahead and build. But in terms of sort of the immediate political message is that we're going to instantly save you $50,000, $70,000 when you buy a house, that's not actually going to happen.
Also keep in mind, the GST applies only to new homes, not to the resale of existing homes. And here in the Toronto area, the resale market accounts for the bulk of home sales. Over the past 10 years, the Toronto Region Real Estate Board has reported an average of roughly 90,000 resale homes sold annually. Over the same time period, the region has seen on average roughly 32,000 new homes sold each year. That means new homes account for only about 1/4 of housing sales in the GTA. So, how about boosting the supply of new homes? That's supposed to bring down prices, right?
Our plan is to build 3 million homes in the next 5 years.
Our goal is to double the pace of housing construction to almost 500,000 new homes every single year.
A new Conservative government that will remove gatekeepers, cut taxes, build homes, build millions of homes.
What's in place right now at the federal level to boost the housing supply is called the Housing Accelerator Fund, a program launched by the Liberals in 2023. It's mainly about providing cities with money for infrastructure if they increase housing density and speed up approvals.
The Liberal Housing Accelerator Fund is a carrot approach. It's allocated $4 billion to distribute across municipalities. Much of that money has already been committed through agreements. The Conservative proposal is we're going to establish targets on municipalities. They're picking out the stick and saying if you don't meet those targets, we'll take that money away. So you catch more bees with honey. I think being positive and proactive and working with the municipalities is probably going to get you further than is the case of penalizing them for not doing things.
As for Jagmeet Singh's NDP,
we're going to double the Housing Accelerator Fund and make it permanent.
the Liberals now want to go even further. They're promising to create a new Crown corporation, which they call
Build Canada Homes.
It would provide $25 billion in loans to the builders of prefabricated homes, $6 billion in direct spending on affordable housing, and another $4 billion in low-cost loans for affordable housing projects.
We should draw inspiration from what's worked in the past. Let's go back to a time when we built things in this country.
Mark Carney is invoking Canada's post-war home building effort that brought houses like these to Toronto's East York neighborhood back in the 1940s and 50s. How would that work in the Toronto of the 2020s?
It made sense back then because they were just building new communities and they had tons of lots they could build on, and they're building detached bungalows. So this idea that we can just take prefabricated plans and just drop them everywhere, I think is unrealistic. I think they have a place, but I don't think they're going to play the same role they played in our housing markets in the 1940s as they would potentially today.
Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives dismiss Carney's plan as more Liberal bureaucracy. His party would instead sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land to developers of both market and non-market housing.
So that you and your family...
Jagmeet Singh's New Democrats have other ideas.
We should use all of our federal land to build 100% affordable homes. Unlike the other parties that are talking about selling off that land to developers and most of it not being affordable, I think that's wrong.
But there are still quite a lot of publicly owned sites in the GTA as well. We've got Downsview Airport, for example. It's a very, very large site there. So there are substantial public properties that could be used.
The New Democrats would also make Canada's temporary ban on foreign home buyers permanent and would try to discourage property flipping by taxing sales within 5 years of purchase at a higher rate. So, how do all of these promises to speed up the pace of home construction mesh with the reality of the market right now? The pace of building new homes in Ontario sped up after COVID hit, but has since slowed down. And 2024 was the worst year for new home sales in the GTA since 1990. Think of it this way, with so few people buying new homes, what company would want to build them?
As much as government wants industry to build more homes, industry basically has put the brakes on. Part of that is because of high labor costs, high materials, and higher interest rates, and the economics of building for them just don't make sense anymore.
Most of those policies I don't think are going to have a material impact anytime soon.
Why not?
Well, because supply is a very, very long-term gain.
It gets you wondering, what can a federal government of any political stripe actually do to make housing in the GTA less expensive?
Houses have become a global financial asset, and the money flowing into them is disproportionately coming from investors. So I do think there's a role that they have in making home ownership potentially affordable by discouraging investment and speculation in houses so that the younger generation have a bit of a chance.
I mean, I think they can have some influence at the margins, but the reality is we live in a market system, and the market is what sets the prices.
And the market has not been kind to would-be home buyers in the GTA. Here's what the average home has sold for each year since 1980, and here's the average household income over those same years. See how the gap widens? For a long time, the average home was priced around 3 to 5 years of average income. It has skyrocketed the past decade to nearly 10 years. A financial reality putting home ownership out of reach for many. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.